congratulations with everything and the way that it's going, and thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you.
There we are. Keep doing all the good stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. Well, it has been a day of cuts here at the BBC, with jobs going in the newsroom, but one service has received a stay of execution just hours before it was due to be phased out. I'm talking about the red button text pages.
And do you remember the predecessor, Ceefax? Remember? Well, our very own Angela Rippon was there when that started, and here's her fond look back at a world of block art and slow-loading football results.
1974, a year that saw the birth of an innovation, and one that I was there to witness.
A team of BBC engineers have been helping to plan what can best be described as a revolution. A revolution, that is, in communication.
For the very first time, and long before you had laptops or smartphones, you could get news, information about travel and the weather at your fingertips, and all because of a service that I really loved. Ceefax. It was an electronic magazine transmitted through gaps in the TV signal, and was the first of its kind in the world. Mort Smith was the first full-time journalist to work on the service.
You can see here we have headlines on page 102, home news on 103, sport, racing, the Financial Times Index.
When we created a telefax page, we'd write the news story up, and then we had to grab the tape, run down 2 flights of stairs, put the tape into a reader, and then you had to run back upstairs to look at it on air. Occasionally, you would have made a spelling mistake, in which case you had to do the whole thing again.
Some of Mort's colleagues used Ceefax to share more specific news with key parts of the audience.
The editor, Colin McIntyre, if he was going to be working late, he would put a message onto a back page of the Ceefax magazine to his wife saying, I'm going to be 20 minutes late, or I'm just leaving Television Centre now.
At its peak, Ceefax was being used by around 20 million people. You could get all sorts of information on it, including even a daily horoscope. I must admit, I tended to use it for the headlines because it was constantly being updated. And as we didn't have rolling news channels at that time, it was most people's go-to source for breaking news.
John Major was a real cricket fanatic, and he used to have a teletext set in number 10 and regularly used to check on the latest test score using Ceefax.
Although the service was switched off in 2012, there's still a lot of love for the 3-digit lead block caps pages of Ceefax. Can you tell me what you remember about Ceefax?
It was the days before internet and before Alexa and so on, and we thought it was quite amazing that at the touch of a button you could find out these things.
My sister, and she used to watch Ceefax for holidays, and she used to get regular holidays, used to have a bag packed and everything.
I used to use it for Grand Prix results. I can even remember the number on that. I think it's 331 or something.
Software engineer Peter Kwan worked on Ceefax before it closed down. His passion for the service was so strong that he's since created his own version called Ceefax. Peter, if I was to log on to Ceefax, what would I see?
For live information that's up to date, you can get news pages, you can get several pages of weather.
The pages are created online and then uploaded onto analog televisions using a small computer. Anyone with that device can access Ceefax. From there, pages can be dialed in and controlled via an ordinary remote, just as you would have done with Ceefax.
Some people who liked quizzes will remember Bamboozle.
Yeah. That'll bring back memories. A small group of volunteers from around the world create the 600 pages, which can take between a couple of minutes and several hours to make, and some of which feature some innovative artwork.
They're very creative, the way they use the restrictions of 7 colours, and you can see everything's blocky and jaggy, but that is what attracts the artist to the medium.
So what's the reason behind Peter's passion for this otherwise outdated technology?
Well, we look at it like steam engines. There's no reason to have a steam engine anymore, but you go up and down the country, and there they are, chugging up and down little preserved lines. So we've preserved some of the technology for the future.
Time for Peter and I to get artistic ourselves.
Press escape, then B for blue.
Oh, that's clever.
Me and my sisters love looking at the holidays.
Holidays you would dream, wouldn't you, as a kid, looking through those?
Yeah.
So you were saying that what did you do with the Ceefax?
Look at the horoscopes.
Horoscope.
They used to do the horoscopes on
What
it.
star sign are you, Jo?
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini.
Ooh, charming. Very good
isn't it?
actors, though. Geminis are generally very good actors.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What about Capricorns? Are they any good?
No, they're rotten. So don't book in.
Moving on.
My dinner way. Go on. What have you got?
Speaking of kind of roundups and what have you, let's have a little word from people who have brought some bits and pieces in. There we are. Look, this is from Wendy in Worcestershire. She says, Lulu, she loves you. And so she named her dog after you.
Just like
There
me.
is her Lulu. This one's got lots of energy too.
Now then, this month, Tesco has launched a new initiative to further reduce their use of plastic, stopping 350 tonnes of waste going to the dump in the process.
Yeah, it's good news, but it'll take a lot more than that to hit the government's landfill targets. And one of the current solutions comes with a ton of controversy. Here's Joe Crowley.
Around 27 million tonnes of household waste is generated in the UK each year.
But what might surprise you is that more and more of it is being sent to places like this to be burned.
In England, roughly 40% of waste collected by local authorities is sent to facilities like this. These types of plants are often referred to as incinerators, but with electricity generated from the output, the industry now calls them energy from waste plants.
I've come here to Teesside, to one of the largest energy from waste sites in the UK.
Plant manager Darren Thomas is giving me the tour.
We get approximately 950 tonnes a day of waste arriving at the site.
Wow. And before this place was built, do you know where all this was going?
Predominantly landfill.
We've got some wood, we've got a can over there, lots of plastic. You know, that's sort of a household detergent. So many things there that could be recycled. Why don't you take those things out at this point?
Well, at this stage you can physically see that there's so much contamination there that it's not viable to do that.
And it's not your role to be separating, that's up to either the households or the council.
Or the councils to do that, yeah.
Dust masks on, Darren takes me for a closer look.
Wow, that is staggering.
See, about 5,000 tonnes in there at the moment. That's about half what we can actually physically take.
Wow.
It's an astonishing sight. But some people aren't happy about burning waste, and I'm putting their concerns to Dr. Adam Reed, External Affairs Director at Suez, the company that runs the plant.
So Adam, I've got some questions from campaigners who all live near plants like this.
How can you justify wasting so much money on a technology that burns resources that we should be recycling?
I don't think we're wasting money because we need to treat the waste. And if that material isn't in the recycling bin in the right quality, then there's very little that any of us in the system can do with it. So ultimately, until we start getting more of that material in the right bin more often, we're going to need infrastructure, and we don't have the landfill.
The waste is dropped into the furnace, which burns at up to 1100 degrees centigrade.
Wow, that is incredible. And how long will that waste be there? So from coming from the grabber to ending up as ash?
Depending on how combustible it is, it's between 3 and 4 hours.
The heat is used to generate steam, which powers a turbine.
We're using the energy from that waste to produce electricity. In reality, we're generating 24 megawatts, which, to put things into context, is enough energy to power around about 30,000 homes.
At the end of the process, the ash is sent to be recycled into building materials, while the gases are neutralised with lime, filtered with carbon, passed through bag filters and then released into the air.
So this is like, what, a kind of heavy-duty Hoover bag?
Yes, exactly. And it just allows the air to flow through, but stops the lime and carbon to get carried into the chimney.
Environmentalists are concerned about what's released from the chimney or stack even after the filtering process.
How confident are you that the incinerator's plume doesn't increase ground level pollutants?
The height of the stack is number one, to help dispersion. Number two, heavily regulated, heavily monitored. We are tracking what's in the stack on a minute-by-minute basis.
Can you ensure that burning rubbish in urban areas is harmless to children's health?
Public Health England come out very clearly and said there is no significant concern in their eyes from urban energy recovery sites. And if you take, my perspective, diesel cars and traffic jams are significantly more damaging currently to children and adults.
Is this the best we can do to kind of burn this and not use it in another way?
It's probably the best we can do right now, but long term, probably not. I'm quite certain that the evolution of our sector over the next 20 to 25 years will see companies like ours operating in a very different way. We are going to adapt to changing material demands, and hopefully consumers will too.
Thank you, Joe. Well, with all this rubbish talk, we thought we'd end with these two. Now, we met them at the start of the show, Tony and Kenny. They work at Dalmoke Recycling Centre in West Dumbartonshire.
Now, let me tell you, these lads went above and beyond to help somebody who turned up, quite understandably, in a bit of a panic. So, Kenny, go on, start us off with what happened that day at the site.
Well, what happened that day, as we can remember, the brother and sister had been coming in and out, clearing her mother's kitchen while she was out.
Yeah.
Don't know where she was, but they accidentally dumped something they shouldn't have.
Right.
So...
And it was quite a something.
We didn't know at the time.
You didn't realise at the time what we were talking about.
They said it was money. So Tony and I pinpointed.
Did they tell you what the money was in? Because that was the key.
They did. Once we started we taken the container out of the way and members of the public.
Yeah.
So, for your health and safety reasons. And after 2 hours, Tony and I sieved through toilet peelings and what have you.
So, Tony, you were looking then for these Bisto containers, because in these Bisto containers, this lady had collected, they said in the papers, didn't they? £20,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
And the kids had dumped them on your site, and then it was your job to go and try and find them.
It was our job to get into the container and try and find the container.
So you found the first one, did you?
I found the first container in one of the bags, yep.
How did you feel when you found the fifth and you knew that you owed all the cash?
Oh, it was great.
Brother and sister.
It's great just to get it back to the family, isn't it?
The old lady, I think she was about 85 or something. She started, the daughter started crying. Shook your brother's hand and... brilliant.
But, when they came to you initially and said, we've got this problem, we need you to find these gravy containers, did you think, there's no way that this is going to happen?
It's like a needle in a haystack in our yard. It's really busy. It's really busy, so there's tons of rubbish coming into the place.
Well, I know you said to us before that your reward was just to see the look on their faces. Well, we've got you a little one-shot or something here.
And there's some edible money in it for the trip home.
There you are, that's just for you. 1 4 gravy granules, complete with 20 grams of chocolate coins. And if you know of others who've gone that little extra mile in their jobs to make somebody's life really quite something, then do let us know. And if you think that they deserve a thank you, all in the usual ways. There's the address up there for you.
Yeah, we've got a lovely message from Ted. We haven't got time to read it, but basically he's got a £5 that you signed. Yeah?
Really?
It's still in his wallet, yeah. There you are. Thanks to all our guests. It's been wonderful to have you all. Shakespeare and Hathaway returns on Monday at 2:15 BBC One. And Lulu's London Palladium show is on the 15th of March. You can also be able to hear it on BBC Radio 2 on the 20th. Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye.